All right, all right. Story number three. Now, as we've covered on this channel, Puff Daddy is in custody. He's been arrested on trafficking and SA charges. And there's been all kinds of news. All kinds of people have been talking about this. There's been new victims who've come forth and said that they're filing a lawsuit as well. There's been reports that Puff Daddy is in custody and eating pretty good, not worried about being poisoned. I saw that over at TMZ Hip Hop today. There's a lot swirling around this super high profile turn of events, right? So one of the people who has made comments about this is Marion Suge Knight. Suge Knight, co-founder, Death Row Records. Now, this is kind of crazy in my mind, right? In my mind. You have the two executives that were that were the label heads, the CEOs of the biggest and the most tragic rap beef of all time. Puff Daddy and Suge Knight. And now they're both in prison. They are both in prison right now. I mean, I'd like to say that I guess we didn't see this coming, but I don't think that's all the way true. I think we kind of expected it with Suge Knight. I mean, his label was called Death Row. I think we figured it probably so with Diddy at one point in time, especially when he had that, when he beat a murder rap, actually, when he beat a murder rap in 1998. Somewhere along the line, it started seeming like Diddy was just too big. He became the bank or something like that, you know, shout out to The Wire. But now they're both in prison, which is crazy. Suge Knight was on News Nation with Andrew Cuomo. And he called in and gave his perspective. So let's see what Suge Knight has to say.
Respect your show, respect what you're doing, but most important thing is it's got to be a solution, because this has been going on in the industry for a whole bunch of years, for decades. But at the same time, you know, nobody wants this to be true, and it shouldn't have to be true. But if we don't fix it and do something about it, history will constantly
repeat itself. Now, Suge, you said something early on.
No, that's an interesting point, too, that Suge makes there. I think it's, you know, a saying we've all heard at some point in time. But we talked about Dapper Dan. We covered Dapper Dan talking yesterday. And Dapper Dan was, when he was asked about the Diddy trial, I guess it wasn't the Diddy trial, he was just asked about Puff Daddy after the CNN video, I believe. And he said, you know, whatever's happening with Puff didn't start with Puff. He knew he grew up with Puff's parents, and he's saying it didn't start with Puff. And Suge is saying the same thing. I don't think people necessarily have a reflexive understanding of the music industry. This is an industry that is founded by literal, actual gangsters, okay? Like, the business of selling records is founded by literal, actual gangsters, you know? I think we need to keep that in mind. And you can still see the remnants of that in the contracts, but there's a lot of, you know, seedy, nefarious behavior that's tied to this industry. Not even just hip hop, just the music industry in general. And so that's a taste of, at least that's the sense that I get when Suge Knight is talking about. It did just stop here. We have to stop this. We have to find a way to bring this to an end.
That I want to get clarification for the audience, Suge. You said early on, you can't just look at Diddy in isolation. You said this was done to him. He learned from others, and it was done to him, and then he did to others. To me, that sounds like what I hear when people are talking about abusive situations, you know, hurt people, that someone was sexually abused, they wind up being a perpetrator. Is that what you're suggesting about Sean Combs, that he was sexually abused and he now sexually abuses?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think he was done to him. And like I said, if you look at Russell Simmons, you know the truth. Andre Rails, you know the truth. R.I. Davis, you know the truth. Jimmy Iovine, you know the truth. So there's not certain things that all of a sudden you got this. The industry is a quick business. It's been like that for a long time.
Mm.
The industry is a crooked business. It's been like that for a long time.
And the casting couch is real, but it's for women and men.
And the casting couch is real, but it's for women and men.
But far from all that, I think the most important thing is I feel like they should let Puffy tell his truth. I'm quite sure he's going to expose a lot of people. I'm sure he's going to move forward with it. But I don't think it should be a situation like the Epstein thing where they found him hanging from the ceiling and dead before the truth come out.
Do you believe
I think
that
He thinks Puffy's going to talk. Suge's known Puff for a long time. They were friends at one point in time. If Puff talks, Jesus.
Need to be.
do you believe that Diddy is in danger in prison? And do you have advice for him based on what you just said?
Well, the first advice I had, I don't ever want to say he's in danger, and neither should he say that. Because once he gets to the point where they feel he's going to be suicidal to himself, harmful to himself, once they put him on suicide watch, you have the rights to nothing. No socks, no drawers, no T-shirt, no blanket, no sheets. So naked in a cell as a crazy man. So he definitely don't want to do that. And the other advice I would tell him, maybe he should get on the Jewish diet. Because the kosher meals is way better than the food somebody else is making for you. At least they're going to come hot. They're going to come see you, and you got to be the one to open them.
I wonder if Suge Knight's on a kosher diet. You think he's doing that? Let me know in the comment section if you think Suge Knight is on a kosher diet.
That's very important.
What about people
He
trying to
ain't
hurt
gonna
him?
go to jail or- I mean, one of the things is this. I don't care who you are. Prison and jail is a negative environment. If somebody can do something to them and get a name for themselves, they're going to actually do it. Or if they can do whatever they feel they got to do to prove themselves. But we also got to learn. We got to learn from our mistakes. Everything don't have to be a mistake. You got to better yourself. But we all know what we sign up for in life. So if I sign up to be a football player, I know.
These images are crazy. I mean, these are two titans who arguably have had the biggest impact on hip-hop history. You can make the argument that very few people have had a bigger impact on hip-hop than Suge Knight and Puff Daddy and Diddy. We've watched them our entire lives. We've watched the culture grow as they grew. The people that they've introduced to this culture are titans in the talisman of hip-hop history. And they're both incarcerated. Look at these images. Look at that.
I'm going to get hit and I'm going to hurt some other too. I signed up to be in the music business and the entertainment business. If you fight for right to being a black man, there's certain things you got to look at for the challenges. If they can't take the money from you, they take you from the money by putting you in prison. That's a fact. In Puffy's situation, he should go and get his time out the way. Not no light sentence. If he can get an extra time, he should jump on it because he had a great run.
I actually think that's solid advice. If he can do the time, and Diddy's relatively young, that's pretty solid advice from Suge Knight.
Now, I had a great run. So I don't go mad. I don't wake up mad. I've been locked up for 10 years, and I ain't had a bad day yet. And it's a lot of things we can do to help each other, and it's never too late for help. I've blessed us to have a voice. Let's use our voice. I had told Puffy a while back. I told T.D. Jackson a while back. Come on, collect calls. We can politic. Because one thing for certain, one thing for sure, he just not going to walk away with one scratch on it.
Do you think?
Like that.
Do you think that
He
Diddy?
can do so.
Do you think Diddy knows enough that it's a very delicate balance that maybe investigators will want to know these other names and greatly reduce his exposure to criminality, to time, versus what people would do to keep him quiet?
Number one, I've been knowing him a long time, and we was friends. We're not enemies, but we were friends. He's not a dummy, so he's smart enough to work his magic. On top of that, this man right here, he been involved with the FBI for most of his career. And
Suge just said Diddy's been involved with the FBI for most of his career. What did Kanye say? I ain't coming to your house, you fucking fed. 1 second applause.
not like he don't have no moves. So I don't think nobody should just count him out. I don't think he gonna lay down and just crawl in the corner and die. He probably going through a lot of shit right now because he probably going through a lot of withdrawals for the drugs. But the industry got him on drugs. And see, they do these things to take control. They're not doing, there's nothing wrong with being gay. If you choose to be gay, that's your preference. But they doing this to people for control. It's a power situation.
Suge.
And they've been having the power of the, yes.
I appreciate your perspective on this. And I just want to get something very clear, because if what you're saying is true, and I'm not questioning your credibility. I can't assess it.
True.
I don't know. So
Right.
then he's got people who are the biggest names in the business
Well, if you could,
who
I ain't
helped
trying
him.
to cut you off, but if any of those people I mentioned don't have no drinks and don't do no followers, then you'll find out. I don't want you to be right.
Well, listen, I mean, look,
No,
the job is to ask questions of people in power. They answer how they choose.
All right, so that's Suge Knight. Suge Knight says some interesting things. One thing I think is, two things stand out to me. One, the advice he gives Diddy: eat kosher, you'll get better meals. If you get reasonable amount of time, go ahead and take it. He had a great run. This was done to him, so he did it to other people, or that should be at least factored in as to why. That should at least be factored in as we think about all the things he's allegedly done to other people. And the part where he said him and Puff Daddy were friends. They were friends. And that Rolling Stone, there was a Rolling Stone piece that we looked at during the video watching the press conference the U.S. attorneys did when they were talking about, when they took him into custody. And one of those Rolling Stone pieces that looked at all the different situations Diddy's been in throughout his career, in there was the Jake Robles shooting, 1995. I didn't read the full thing, but here's what it says. Combs and Death Row Records co-founder Marion Suge Knight were once friends, but the animosity that fueled the violent rivalry between Death Row and Bad Boy started once Knight's friend and security guard Jake Robles was killed outside an Atlanta nightclub after an argument with the Bad Boy camp. The men were celebrating musician Jermaine Dupri's birthday at Platinum City Club when, as then Fulton County Sheriff Deputy Chris Howard told police, an argument began between members of the Bad Boy and Death Row Records entourage. Howard said that he escorted Combs and his guests outside to leave the club and thought the coast was clear to allow Knight and his entourage to leave. But as Howard told the LA Times, Knight's partner was just about ready to get into the limo when all of a sudden Puffy's guys came around the corner and one of them had a gun. Howard said he chased the man who handed the gun to another person who shot Robles 2 or 3 times. According to the Times, the person then jumped into a car carrying Combs' associates. Robles died weeks later at an Atlanta hospital. Combs has denied involvement in the shooting, which Knight reportedly held him responsible for. This is 1995. Now both men are incarcerated. 2 titans of hip-hop history, who, as Suge Knight said, both had a great run. We'll see how this case develops. My name is Justin Hunt. Like, subscribe to the channel, follow at The Company Man on everything. It's all happening.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom bapping. Systematical culture views us radical, it's all happening. Shaking hands and dapping it. Life through the lens of hip hop, from trip hop to yes, yes, dog. You don't stop, you don't stop. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening.